I mean, I looked at it this morning. Chase Utley could go 10 for his next 10, and he would still be batting under 200. So as poor of the luck as it's been, it's also, you can't blame it all on, the black cat syndrome or whatever for Chase Utley. But here's an interesting little tidbit. Chase Utley is hitting 103 right now. In the last 50 years, there have only been 4 players who have been hitting 115 or below through their first 100 at-bats and finished the year hitting over 200. So considering there's only been 4 guys in the last 50 years to do that, doesn't really bode well for Utley.
Corey, at this time, I mean, what can you do? I've talked before to different people, and they say about Howard, look, you don't want to embarrass him. Releasing him would embarrass him, and you got to play him a little bit because of the contract. How do you handle Utley? I mean, they've moved Howard down in the order. Is that the first step? What do you see the next couple of weeks or the next couple of days or so for Utley if this doesn't turn around?
Well, yeah, you move him down. I think the 2 spots that he would fit much better in than the 3-hole would be batting second or batting sixth. I think that Utley would do well batting second just because Ben Revere is really hitting well right now. He's hitting 359 over his last 10 games. So if Ben Revere gets on first base, it opens up that hole between first and second for Utley. That could create some hits. With those hits could come some confidence. With that confidence could come a 2-week or 3-week hot stretch for Utley. But, yeah, you need to move him out of the 3-hole. He's just not hitting in that spot right now, and the Phillies have a couple other guys who are hitting and would be better suited. Darren Ruff, Freddie Galvis. It's not like the options are completely invisible or lacking. So, that would be the first step is moving Utley down, moving him into a different spot, but also giving him some more time off. I can't imagine that playing every day is helping the cause, and the Phillies have given him more time off this year than they did last season. But at the end of the day, I mean, they still look at Chase Utley as a guy who has something left in the tank. It's not like he's going up there and striking out every at-bat. He's putting the bat on the ball. It's just, things aren't going well right now for Chase.
Corey Seidman's with us, CSN Philly. Corey, what do you think this start of the year has done for any potential trade value he had?
Chase Utley? Well, I think it's pretty much killed it because the only teams that might be interested in Chase Utley are probably looking at it right now like, well, as bad as our second basemen have been, this guy's hitting 103. I do think, on the other hand, though, that if you trade for a guy like Chase Utley, if you trade for a guy like Cole Hamels, who also has struggled early in the season, you're not trading for the stats. You're trading for the skills that you think that guy is going to come in and provide. So, for example, if you're the San Diego Padres and you have Jed Jerko playing second base and he's struggling every day and you don't know if he's ever going to be able to be this player that you thought he was going to be, then maybe you look at a Chase Utley as a left-handed bat to balance out a lineup that can come in, add some leadership, add some, on-base skills. You're not looking at the 103 batting average, but, at the same time, those suitors are going to be few and far between because you would really need to have a disastrous second base situation in order to talk yourself into taking an Utley on.
Yeah, I saw over at CSNPhilly.com, you put together kind of a batting lineup, and you had Utley hitting in the number 2 hole there and Ruff in the number 3 hole. I guess that would mean that Ruff should be getting everyday play. Is that something you see happening in the near future?
It's not something I see happening just based on what we've seen over the last couple of years, the way the Phillies have toyed around with Darren Ruff. It's something I really think should happen because the season is not about results. We know that the season is not about winning as many games as possible. It's about putting together, different lineup combinations and different roster constructions that you think can work for the future. And Darren Ruff, over his last 4 starts, is 8 for 16 with 4 extra base hits. And this team is sorely lacking extra base hit production. I think that batting Darren Ruff third for a couple weeks here, just getting him in the lineup, period, for a couple weeks here so that he doesn't feel like he has to look over his shoulder every single day and wonder if he's going to start. There's a lot to be said about a guy knowing that he can go 0 for 4 and he's not going to be benched the next day. So maybe with that, with everyday playing time for a month or so, we can have a better gauge and we can better assess what Darren Ruff's future will be. We know that Jeff Francoeur is not in this team's long-term plans. We know that Grady Sizemore is not in this team's long-term plans. So Ryne Sandberg has got to figure out a creative way to get Ruff, Revere, Ryan Howard, who you need to showcase, and Odubel Herrera all in the lineup on the same night. If that means putting together defensive combinations he might not be 100% comfortable with, then so be it. I mean, you've got to put that lineup together and see if the offense outweighs the negativity of the defense.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where you would do with Herrera. He's learning the outfield in center field. Where would a good spot for him be if he's not playing center field? Because it sounds like you have Revere at the top of the order and also Herrera with Ruff playing left, which means that one of those guys, Revere or Herrera, is going to have to go to a spot that they're pretty uncommon playing.
Right. So, with that, the options you would have would be shifting Revere back to center field, where he played for the Phillies the last 2 years, and putting Odubel Herrera in right, where he played a little bit in spring training. Or you could put Herrera at second base. I mean, it might seem really outside the box, but that's the position he played all throughout the minors with the Texas Rangers. He was not viewed as a strong defender at second base, but, it's not like he's going to be the Phillies center fielder for the next 10 years. So the more versatility Odubel Herrera has, the better a player he's going to be. The other option is trying Darren Ruff in right field. I know that Ruben Amaro on the final day of the 2013 season said that Ruff flat out is not a right fielder. But earlier this season, when Ryne Sandberg was asked about it the second day of the year, he said he himself has not ruled Ruff out as a right fielder. So, I don't really think that that's going to happen. I don't think the Phillies are ever going to be confident enough to put Ruff in right field, which is really a shame because, there are slow-footed outfielders all across baseball. And Darren Ruff's bat, I mean, there's just such a lack of pop across baseball that his bat could play at a couple different positions, and it's really up to the Phillies here to figure out a way to get it in the lineup on an everyday basis.
Yeah, by the way, no Chase Utley in the lineup tonight. He gets the night off for Philadelphia. Chad Billingsley going to go tonight, Corey, for the Phillies. Interesting story, and this could be a story that works out good for the Phillies in the end in one of two ways. One, he's only 30. If he pitches well, I guess they got a guy who can stick around for a couple of years. Or two, if he pitches well, they could get some takers. What is the story of Billingsley, and where do you see this going?
Well, Chad Billingsley has made just 2 starts since the end of the 2012 season because he had back-to-back elbow surgeries in 2013 and 2014, missed pretty much the entire season in 13 and all of the season in 14. He's not the guy he once was. I mean, when he was in his heyday with the Dodgers, he was averaging 200 innings per season, going to the playoffs for those teams, having a mid-threes ERA, but he's yet another guy that, like Aaron Harang, like Roberto Hernandez last year, it was a very low-risk signing by the Phillies. And if you can flip him for any type of value at the trade deadline, then you did yourself it was a job well done by Ruben Amaro. But, in the meantime, this is a Phillies rotation that desperately needs innings. David Buchanan was not giving them innings. The fifth starters, whether it was O'Sullivan or Severino Gonzalez or Dustin McGowan for that spot start, they were not giving the Phillies innings either. So if Chad Billingsley can average 6 innings per start, between 2 and 3 runs, that's successful, based on the context of this rotation. And I'm just excited to see the guy get back out on the mound. It's a good story. He thought that his career was over, at a very young age, but he's really battled back, and he's fine. This long, arduous road home for Chad Billingsley, it's finally been completed, and he'll be back out on the mound tonight. And there's really no better place to kind of get back into the swing of things than in Atlanta, spacious ballpark, weak Braves lineup.
Well, he'll go tonight for the Phillies. And by the way, tonight it is Revere playing right field and Herrera playing center field. So that lineup is what the Phillies are going to go with tonight with Chad Billingsley on the mound. Corey Seidman, CSN Philly, with a look at Chase Utley and the Phillies. Utley out of the lineup, Billingsley on the mound. So a very different look for Philadelphia. And Corey, always appreciate the time, man.
Anytime.